Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows or adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season 1 finale of Medaka Kuroiwa is Impervious to My Charms. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we immediately pick up where last episode left off, and Mona, with her realization, her epiphany that she had, she's kind of a little awkward being around Medaka. And so when they are reunited with the group, I love that thing from Show where he was just like, "Oh, we're so glad that you were able to be found, Mona," but then we kind of were like worried the moment we couldn't get in contact with Medaka. I don't know if Show was kind of thinking like, suspicious you both got lost together, but it might also just be a thing of, I was also kind of worried because I'm like, no, we lost Mona, now we've lost Medaka too. This is crazy. This is sad. So that might just be all there is to it. But Asahi immediately notices something's off about Mona. She's like, "All right, did you do something while you were going?" I was like, no. And she's being super bashful, and even Tomo's taking notice of it, like, "Yo, what's going on here?" And so while they're on the train, because like initially Mona's feeling so overwhelmed with everything. I think it's like, I can't be around Medaka right now because it's just too much. So I was like, you guys keep going on and I'll bail. But they were like, no. Like, if you're not feeling it up, we'll kind of like hang out and do something else. Next time we'll go to the movies. Which is so interesting. The first thing that came to Manami's mom was like, "Oh, let's see a horror film," but it was like Yuzuru being like, "No, let's go see a romance film." But she ends up confessing to Tomo, and she was like, "Right, don't make fun of me, and don't say the whole 'you were right' thing." But she's like, the fact is that Medaka, he said that he like you said, he saw the mask slipping, and he thought I was cuter, and I think I may or may not have fallen for him. And Tomo's laughing, but she's like, "See, you are laughing, you jerk." But it's like, no, I'm just glad my best friend has found her first love, and that's great and amazing and everything. And I love her little talk with Asahi, and she's getting all embarrassed and everything, because for her it's like this game of love and war that I have, like in this like love triangle that is Asahi, Mona, and Medaka. She's just kind of like, right, Asahi's been very upfront in this battle and stuff like that. Granted, she fudged the details, or rather omitted certain truths and stuff like that, specifically about the kiss. But Mona felt like, no, it's only proper that I tell her. It's like, right, I've fallen for Medaka. And Asahi has literally no reaction but just go, that kind of sucks. Because for her, it's like, if you had kept being ignorant for a little bit longer, it would have continued to make it a lot easier for me. But now that you've come to that realization, now I'm gonna have to try even harder, because it was a couple. She's known since she found out about Mona's secret of, "Oh, I'm just trying to get Medaka to fall for me just so I can feed my own ego." She's known since then that Mona's had a thing for him. It's just like now she's finally realizing. It was actually kind of beautiful how she contextualized it, where she was saying that for Asahi it was love at first sight, and it's like, right, for you it's happening today. So like, right, it is this proper challenge, love rival situation we got going on. And like, yeah, it's going to be like, she already made that declaration beforehand, and it was kind of already that. But once again, everything kind of has gotten retextualized. It's almost like this is a fresh start. This is kind of like Mona's journey 2.0, because now she's doing it with, like, she's had this, like I said, epiphany and eye-opening situation, but not fully, but we'll get to it in a second. But she tells Asahi, like, "I'm not going to lose to you." So it's like, yeah, we'll see how that happens and how that plays out. And then sadly, the next day she got sick. Mona did. So it is interesting. Seems like things weren't on the other foot, where she didn't get visited by Medaka, because that probably would have been a lot to show up at her place. Because he doesn't know where she lives, I'm sure. Could have easily found out from Tomo and everything. But it's still just kind of like it's a whole different other beast. Her and Asahi showing up at your place versus you showing up at hers. That would have been a whole thing. So, but it is kind of ironic that the moment she kind of let go of all the stuff that she's been holding on to, these preconceived notions from herself of how she felt about Medaka, and finally letting it go and just kind of bearing her heart and soul a little bit, at least it being acknowledging it to herself. It's like, now that she kind of got that all off of her, it's almost like the weight of everything finally kind of hit her, and now she's sick in the aftermath. So that is the irony behind it. So And so she ends up getting in contact with Tomo at school. I think it's interesting. We also dropped the fact is that she has a little brother. I was like, oh, maybe her brother's in some of the pictures or something. I never noticed that. I never knew that until they brought that up in context, because she's using like her brother's tablet or whatever to like FaceTime basically with Tomo, and she's like, oh, like, because she's like, oh, just talk to me or whatever. And it's like, oh, are you feeling down because you can't talk to Medaka, that you're not able to interact with him? And she's like, no, that's not what it is. And so Tomo plays the matchmaker that she does and drags, Medaka to the roof and have him and Momona talk. And for her, she's flipping out because it's like, once again, the thing of I want to be my cutest when we talk and interact, and here I am with my hair mess. Yeah, I'm in my PJs, which he appreciates and tries to push back the thoughts of, oh my god, she's in her PJs, this is crazy. So but it ends up being this moment of, despite all the awkwardness and stuff, because he was like, oh, like, are you feeling better? He's like, I knew you were kind of acting weird. He was like, not weird because you look cute. He's like, that's not what I mean. She's like, no, I know what you mean. And then they started just talking casually, and she's like, very like cliche, like teenager, like rolling around in her bed, just so happy, just talking to him, because it's like, oh my god, like, she's like, if we start dating, would this be like every day where we could talk about stuff, then we go to the movies and we go shopping, and then we hold hands looking at like the sunset and stuff. She's like, we could do stuff like that all the time, right? And it just makes her want to do that even more. And even Medaka being like, yo, why is the background like swirling and twirling so much? Are you feeling so sick that you're rolling around? She's like, oh yeah, just kind of don't take notice of that. But she's so enraptured by, like, it's because anytime she's ever talked to Medaka up until this point, she's always had an ulterior motive behind her approach, and every interaction with him, there's always been an ulterior motive. For the first time, she doesn't have an ulterior motive. It's just a genuine thing of, I like you and I want to talk to you, and I get all butterfly in my stomach. It's like, oh, like young love, dude. We all remember being teenagers, being in love, and you just could not talk to the person you having like crazy feelings for. So I thought that was beautiful. And then obviously things got super awkward because her mom came in. She's like, oh, my mom would totally make fun of me. She found out I was crushing on a boy, and she got her shoulder panties to Medaka, and that became a very embarrassing moment for both of them. But we kind of moved past that a little bit the next episode. I love that. Obviously, Medaka had to run his head underwater, being like, okay. Because previously he had it bad enough where he was like, don't try to memorize and take a snapshot in your head of her in her pajamas. And now it's like, well, I'm sure that situation made that even worse. So, but we see her wake up, and she's instilled with new, like, it's like a new breath of fresh air has been instilled in her. And like, it's like, yeah, things are like, she's like riding cloud 9 right now. Everything's kind of sunshine and rainbows, and it's beautiful how we take, because, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh, it's interesting how everything flipped. But it's like, well, it didn't really flip. To some extent, yes. In other aspects, no. Flipped in the regards of, she's always been very self-centered. And what's the opening like? Oh my God, I'm this. I'm stylish. I'm this. But for her, it's just like, oh, I'm feeling happy. The world seems more beautiful. Because she even talks about it herself previously. She used the line specifically of how she was feeling about the whole Medaka of it all. She's like, well, where do we go? Like, what do I want me and Medaka to be? Because she's like, I'm so used to being loved, I don't know what it's like to love someone. And it's just, to be in love, like, I don't know how to interact, like, what's the next step in all this? Because like, her plans were just for like, oh, I'm gonna make you fall in love with me because I'm used to that. But like, I've never been on the other end of that. I've always been on the receiving end, never did the giving end, so I don't know how to approach this. So it's like, like I said, the breath of fresh air. She's excited to go to school, running into Tsubomi and interacting with Asahi and Minami. It's like, oh, there's something about her, like, everything's great, she's feeling amazing. And it's really adorable and beautiful because, once again, those were the things I was saying, like, things that shifted, like, her perspective on things, because she wasn't as self-centered, isn't about, once again, not making people love you, it's about you being in love. And also, the thing is, things have kind of flipped but also stay the same, because where do we start? Her trying to make Medaka fall in love with her. Where do we end? She's trying to make Medaka fall in love with her. It's just the whole perspective of, but she doesn't have an ulterior motive. It's not from a selfish place. It's like, no, I have feelings for you, and I want you to, I'm going to make it so that you genuinely feel the same way about me, because my feelings for you are now genuine. So I just think that's kind of beautiful. And yeah, so like she's so excited to go to school, interacting with everyone, and the moment she runs into Medaka and she's trying to say good morning, he says good morning first, and then she kind of freezes because she's like, oh my god, he's so handsome. She drops like her eraser, he tries to pick it up at the same time, their hands touch, and then she panics and runs away. I love, like, that scene in particular is in the intro of the show, and she's like running away, being like, I have to go, I'm sick, I got to be at home. And they're just like, oh, is she running away? What's going on here? And for her, it's like, Medaka Kuroiwa, I'm gonna make you fall for me. I'm gonna make you my boyfriend. I was like, that's super cute and super adorable. And obviously, Tomo is laughing up a storm in class because of the whole thing. It's just like, yeah, one step forward, two steps back. But there's been some very, very important steps for Medaka. So it's like, yeah, I mean, for Mona. So she's taken some important steps, but we're not quite there yet. She hasn't gotten to that comfortable place yet. So I just thought that was just such a beautiful way. Like I said, just a parallel to, kind of end up where we were at the beginning, but it's not always about the destination, it's about the journey and how the journey has changed you. So it's like, even though it seems like it's the same thing at what we are at the beginning, but so much has changed and so much has shifted and been realized and recognized in this journey. So I thought that was beautifully done. So I believe it was announced today, after the season finale dropped, the show is returning for a second season. I saw something saying that it's in production, so I don't know how far into production they are. I'm assuming like they're in production, and so I'd assume we'd be getting season 2 sometime next year. The news just dropped like today, so we'll probably get more information as the week goes on. But yeah, very, very excited. I've talked about it. The manga is still ongoing. It is currently, I guess, at published wise, there are 18 volumes out currently. So I tried to Google it to see where we were manga-wise. I guess we're over a third of the way through where the manga is currently. Maybe. The closest I could find, because I couldn't get a direct answer when I was Googling stuff, the closest I could do is like I saw like one of the volumes covered the amusement park. So basically what is essentially episodes, I think 10, 11, and 12, I think are from volume 5. I don't know if that's all volume 5, only some of that's volume 5. I don't know. So that puts us about a third of the way of at least from where the manga is currently, I think. And I could be wrong, because there's also like how much stuff did they cut, how much stuff did they push forward or not. The adaptations aren't always a one-on-one. Not everything gets adapted, and sometimes stuff can get moved around too. So it's not always a one-to-one. So I guess that would be roughly like, if there's like at least 8 chapters or so per volume, I'd say we're at like 45-ish. Chapter 45-ish, maybe. Like I said, I the volume I looked at didn't have the chapters written out, so I don't know like where we are chapter wise in the grand scheme of things. But either way, the point is too, it's just like, right, there's still plenty of story to tell, even from the volumes that exist. We still got quite a bit we could cover in season 2. But yeah, I'm excited to see for the show to return and see what kind of wacky situations Mona finds herself in next season with this her love rival Asahi, as they both battle over Medaka, and what kind of situations they both find themselves in when it comes to this whole tug of war. And everyone from the outside, whether it's Manami backing up Asahi, or whether it's Tomo enjoying herself, but also playing wingman to her friend Mona, but also Tsubomi being a full-blown supporter. Because it's interesting, because like we know where all of them kind of lie and everything. People like Yuzuru and Sho, they seem to be the ones on the outs, not fully knowing like Mona or Asahi's feelings for Medaka, or at least they haven't made it clear. They seem like, oh, everything Mona's doing is just from a friendship perspective, because she's a nice person, but we don't know if that's like, no, they see through it as well. But it seems up to this point they don't, but we'll see if that's really true going forward. But like I said, I'm very, very excited for season 2 to see where the story continues to take us going forward. Really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.